All right. Welcome back to another episode of Light Skin, number 34. Creeping up on that 40 number soon. And it's been fun continuing to get after it and have some good people on. And today we got Mr. Jungle Boy. If you want to introduce yourself.
Zach Walters.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks know me as Jungle Boy because of my professional boxing career up here. So that's always fun when someone brings it up.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always fun. It's a fantastic chapter of my life. But
Thanks for being on with us. I appreciate it. We've met before we get into it. We met at you were the chair at Willow Hills when I was there, and I've known you now for probably 6 years. So
that's crazy how time flies.
I know it is wild.
Wow.
It is wild. So well, get into it like I always do. Tell us about baby Zach, where you were born, life growing up, things like that.
Wow, baby Zach. So I grew up in Madagascar, the island off the coast of Africa there.
Yeah.
Real pretty island, beautiful island. I was actually born in the States though.
Okay.
So my mom and dad got married, tried real hard to have kids, figured that kids weren't in the formula or whatever, and so they went and adopted my older brother.
Okay.
My older brother's adopted from Colombia.
Okay. Yep.
My mom, a long ways to finalizing the adoption, she got pregnant with me.
Okay.
So they prayed for one kid, adopted a kid, and then they got blessed with two kids.
Yep.
So I was like a happy surprise. So right away they had almost 1 year old adopted kiddo, and then they had me, a little infant newborn. And so my mom, when she got pregnant, because the original plan was to adopt my older brother, and then they were going to go into mission work.
Okay, and that's why they went to Madagascar.
So my dad grew up in Madagascar.
Got it. Okay.
So my dad, my grandpa went out there. My dad took a ship out there.
Okay.
Like on a ship, it's. I can't imagine.
Crossing
the Atlantic around the bottom of the ground, Cape, whatever, down the bottom there. So anyways, so born in the States, then my parents moved to France for, 6 months or so, and they lived there. They had to do some language classes for French, because Madagascar is a French-speaking nation.
Yep.
And then Madagascar all the way until I was 12.
Okay.
So, life there was really cool.
Yeah.
It was definitely, and I get hit with it all the time because now I got kids, and I'm like, how can I like all these years that they're that age. I was living in Madagascar doing completely different stuff than they do in the States here. And so some stuff is applicable, some stuff is like lessons learned. But a big part of it out there was the sense of adventure and discovering things. There's some movies my parents would let us watch. One was Swiss Family Robinson, where his family gets shipwrecked on a little island and build a giant tree fort. It's pretty cool. We'd watch that, and so we'd always try to go get lost in the woods, take our pellet guns out there and go hunting and prepare our own little meals and go out and survive, and then come back home at the end of the day. So out there, let's see, my mom was a home ec major in college, so she was our teacher. So me and my brothers and sister, we were homeschooled, and so whenever our work on our syllabus was done, we were done for the day. And we could go play. So we wake up in the morning, eat breakfast, and then hammer through our syllabus of work, and have my mom check and grade it, and then freedom.
Get up out of there.
So usually it was like lunchtime and bounce. You know. It was pretty fun.
How big is Madagascar? Like, is there a lot of people there? Or
I found out about how big it was. We were looking for. I went to my final year in Madagascar. There's a school called the American School, ASA. American School of Antananarivo. Antananarivo is the capital there.
Got it.
They say in short called Tana. And so anyways. ASA was looking for a new logo, and so they had a drawing competition. And there was a kid that was going to school there. There was a Malagasy kid that lived in the States and grew up in the States and then moved to Madagascar. And here I was a American kid that lived in Africa, whatever. We're like the same age, but one grew up here, one grew up there. And he knew about all the hipster stuff in the States. Like, tell me more, It's pretty cool. Anyways, he was quite the artist.
Okay.
And he figured out that geographically, Madagascar would fit right over the Midwest.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So Minnesota down to Louisiana, it's about that big.
Okay.
You know?
And is it long?
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it long too, or is it?
It's long. It's like a seahorse. It's
Okay,
kind
got
of
it.
long with little on it.
Yeah. I mean, that's bigger than I would have thought.
Yeah, for sure.
Way bigger.
It's pretty big. Fourth largest island in the world.
Oh wow. Okay.
Number 4.
Yep.
So it's very unique.
The only thing I know, and this is terrible. The only thing I know about Madagascar
Is the documentary Madagascar?
No, the kids movie Madagascar.
Yeah, I know.
That's the only thing,
bet.
and it's a
That
great
movie's
movie.
awesome.
Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, for
It's
I
sure.
laughed myself into tears.
Oh, dude,
on that
it's
movie.
a good movie.
I was gonna ask you how accurate was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty fun. Every day's a part. Not kidding.
Yeah.
No, the lemurs are definitely there, and the fuchsia, they are.
Which one is the fuchsia?
The fuchsia is those like wild cats, like the
Oh,
fuchsia.
okay, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
like freaking out. Oh, the fuchsia. those are like the biggest natural predator out there.
Oh, damn.
Aside from the boa constrictors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so how big are
the
those?
hawks?
How big are those cats?
Maybe like this big,
Like a bobcat,
like
maybe.
a giant weasel. They don't not
Oh,
very
big
tall.
weasel. Yeah.
They're kind of long, kind of like mongoose,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
And
That's
they
wild.
kill chickens, they kill lemurs, you know. But they're kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
wild.
So so when they're freaking out with the fuchsia, I thought that was pretty funny. And then they when they have the little plane that's falling in the jungle, got a story.
Okay.
Because they use the plane for their little center of operations for the King Julian, you know.
Okay.
And anyways, when we were out there, I must have been 9 years old, maybe 10. So my dad, he's a great photographer, and just loves photography. Well, the mission compound was a place called Ishuraka.
Okay.
Ishuraka was had the mission operations there for the U.S. and also the mission operations for the Norwegians.
Okay.
We shared this big compound because everybody's, it's a big compound, and the Norwegian mission had a situation going on out in the middle of the rainforest
Okay.
on the eastern side of the island, and they had this giant truck they call it a Unimog. I don't even know if it exists, but it was a giant tractor tires on it. And it was the only way to get back in there, aside from a motorcycle and walking. So there was one way in, and it was just a Unimog truck. And so anyways, they were trying to like get some development going back there, and they were working on building a landing strip.
Okay.
And so their mission was like asking for an update. So my dad was say, hey, can you come shoot some pictures? We're gonna fly around a couple times, snap some pictures, and then come on home. My dad's like, yeah, sure. So MAF is called Missionary Aviation Fellowship, right? The pilot's name was Maurice. We're friends. Like everybody had to use Maurice to get places, you know. And so my dad, Maurice, and then the Norwegian kind of a head of the operation, and he wanted to bring his 2 kids along with, just like, hey, let's go for a fun trip, So brought his son and daughter with. So they fly out. In the MAF, it's a small private plane. 2 seats in the back, 2 bucket seats that kind of shift back and forth, and then 2 captain chairs, right? And so my dad was sitting here co-pilot side, so that when the plane tipped, he could like shoot pictures out the window, Anyways, so they get up, fly out, shoot some pictures. They're flying back. Now the east coast of the island, the reason it's rainforest is because there's a huge mountain ridge. Okay. So when the prevailing winds come with the ocean breeze, it kind of whirls around, creates the rainforest, So anyways, flying back, it's a big mountain. Well, on their way back, sputter, quit. One engine. Sputter, quit. The other engine. They're like, and they're flying right into the mountain. And Maurice is like, whoa, like, this is not good. He went into so my mom at home, right? My dad used to drop out when he'd go on these trips with the MAF. They drop off the CB radio so they could hear the conversations.
Oh yeah.
So she's sitting there.
She probably
and she hears
out.
about like engine 1 fail, and she's like, what? Engine 2 failed. What? And it's crazy. So then she said we're going down. So anyways, into the jungle in the afternoon. boom. All my mom knows is like the plane crash.
Crash, yeah, nothing else.
That's it. So so we had a dinner bell. So we lived in this this rice paddy area where the hills came down. It's kind of flat down the middle there.
Okay, yep.
We used to adventure up and down there and stuff. Well, I had this like brass dinner bell, gang, and so our friends knew that was our dinner bell, and so like our friends would hear it, and then like voice to voice communication would eventually find us up the ravine somewhere, and we'd have to come home. So here it's like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And it's a dinner bell. We're like, huh? We just got done with homeschool, we ate lunch, and that was like freedom till dark, you know? Why do we have to come home? So anyways, we find our way back home, and my mom is like a mess. And she's like, boys, your dad just crashed into the rainforest. We don't know if he's alive. We're like, oh my goodness. This is like, it was crazy news.
Yeah, that's wild.
And we didn't hear nothing for a few days. Wow. So we woke up the next day thinking like, he must be gone, you know? And then woke up the next day, he really is gone. Yeah, man. Because like, you're crashing in the rainforest in a foreign country, you don't know, there's no roads, no path. How's he gonna get out? How are we gonna find him? There's all these questions like, are we ever gonna see any remains of Dad ever again?
Yep.
Right? And so, anyways, finally, I think it was day 3 or 4, we get a phone call, and my mom was like overjoyed, like, oh, Dad's alive, you know? So anyways, so here's the story. Right? Like how did Dad get the phone, right? So the plane goes down. So the MAF pilot, Maurice, he knew that he had to land because you can't land into a hill. That ain't gonna work.
That's
so he's like, we don't got much of flatland left. So he went and aimed it towards the ground. He's like, we gotta get some runway here. And then just at the treetops, he flattened it out and landed down like a big old belly flop. And they hit the ground, boom, and they went skidding towards a slough, right? Now, crazy stuff, right? You think God's got a plan, right? Watch this. Boom, they hit 3 trees. 1 tree in the nose, 2 trees on the wing engines. And if it wouldn't have been like that, they would have been into this like lake. Where they would have been knocked out and drowned. And that would have been it. But they hit 3 trees. Now
that's scary.
That's crazy, right?
That's crazy.
So when the thing belly flopped on the ground, the tail crunched up, and the 2 kids in the back, they're kind of like, you know, they got crunched a little bit. You know, not good. And then the 2 chairs in the middle, they're on like a track, you know, because to make room for luggage and stuff. That's where the dad was sitting, and he went right into the back of the pilot's chair, which is a giant reinforced chair. The pilot had the steering wheel with the little Batman symbol thing, and boom, he crashed into him and broke up his ribs and stuff, messed up pretty bad. And my dad was over here, he was holding on to this thing like this, and he crashed in and broke his wrist, and his head hit the windshield. And so he happened to be the first one to wake up, right? And he's like, oh man, you know? And he thought sweat was coming down his face like this. And it goes like that, and a big old piece of flap. His head was like laid open and like hanging there. And he was like, ugh, he almost threw up. Then he's like, oh man, you know? So he's like, when you watch a movie, right? The plane goes down, tick, tick, tick. The plane blows up, you know? And he's like, I gotta get everybody out of here. So like, he goes and he pulls the 2 kids out. And then he pulls the dad out. And then he pulls the pilot out. Then the little boy wakes up and his arm is broken. And the little girl didn't wake up. Dad's face is like, he had to go, it was in mush. It was just like he was alive. But unresponsive. The pilot, then he finally got the pilot awake, who was responsive, and he's like, okay, it's afternoon, it's gonna be dark soon, you don't want to be in the rainforest when nightfall comes, because it just changes everything. It's like all kinds of little bugs and stuff that come around. It's like, what happens in the rainforest when the night goes down? It's crazy. So anyways, my dad starts walking around, and he's praying and looking, finds a path. He's like, prays and says, goes this way. Okay. Walks that way. happens to find a road. He's like, oh man, chances of someone coming on this road. He's like, left or right, left or right. I gotta find out where I'm at, left or right. So he starts walking down one way, and here comes a truck, a charcoal truck. So I know,
that's crazy.
So this is like the most random stuff ever. Like the chances of a truck coming to the rainforest on the random road, it's just crazy.
Yep.
And so this charcoal truck, he pulled it over and says, guys, I got people over here. The plane went down, and we got some people we got to drag out of there. And we just want to ride in the back of the truck, sitting on the charcoal. Just drive us into town. So Tamatave is the next biggest, is the major seaport in Madagascar. And that's the biggest, that's the next closest place, is Tamatave. And so my dad and the driver and his helpers, they went down that way, made little jungle gurneys. I don't know what they did, but they got them all up into there, right? And by this time, they confirmed the little girl died. And so the Madagascar, they got like super superstitions about like people dying and stuff. They won't want to touch the little girl. And everybody, well, so my dad and the pilot, they helped bring her up there and stuff. And so they got on down there, and then they got into the hospital down there. But like it's like not the greatest hospital. But yeah, my dad got sewed up, so the cut on the side of his head was like that long, and I think he got 3 stitches.
Man, that's crazy. Just
I'm talking like maybe 5. I don't know, but it was like it was not great, So anyways, then first thing he wanted to do is like just wanted to call home, So he got to a phone, was able to call home, and that's when he confirmed he was alive. And then a day or so later, they came back and we met at the compound. And I just remember seeing my dad. It was just like tears of joy, tears of like, whoa, what's going on. Half my dad's head was like shaved, and it looked like a dinosaur back with the things, the one with the whippy tail.
Yeah.
Stegosaurus back.
Yeah.
I like dinosaurs back then. I was like, Dad's head with a dinosaur head. Anyways, it was.
Dude, that's
great.
That's
it
intense.
Was wild. My dad's escaped death a couple times.
Yeah.
My dad's my hero, dude.
That's intense.
So
how old were you at this time?
I think, like I said, I think it was like 9
or 10. Okay.
9 or 10.
Yeah, that's wild.
It was nuts.
Yeah, that is.
It was nuts.
Man.
My brothers having conversations like, "Who's gonna be the man of the house? We're all gonna have to get jobs and work around here." Because like at that age, a lot of our Malagasy friends were already working.
Got it. Okay.
Like 9, 10, 11 years old. Like they're all like working, doing stuff. Not all of them went to school.
Yeah.
Like they work with whatever. They got little jobs.
Well, that's interesting.
So
fast forward. Let's fast forward from there then. So. You say you moved back to the States when you were 12.
Yep.
What were your parents just ready to get out of Madagascar? Or
let's see. My dad wanted to stay. All of us kids wanted to stay. That was the life we knew. Coming up, my mom had homeschooled us. My older brother was going to be a 7th grader in the ASA school that my older brother and I were attending. Only went through 8th grade.
Okay.
And so after that, he would have to go over to Tanzania, where they have there's a boarding school over there called Rift Valley Boarding School. That's where like the older missionary kids went there and stuff, or we'd get shipped back to the States. It's like educationally, so what do we do with the kids? And then there's just some other stuff going on with our family, where it's like my mom and dad were like, we're gonna have to move back to the States, And so, for my brothers and I, we're like, it's temporary, And so we come back. So in Madagascar, this is the middle of winter. So over here is winter. Over there it's summer. So it's like the dead of summer. It's like t-shirts or no shirt, no shoes, whatever. It's like that's our life. And we're flying back to the States. Mom and Dad are like, "You're gonna have to get a jacket." We're like, "I don't want a jacket." You have to wear boots. We don't want our boots. Being like proud to wear sandals on. So anyways, you get off the plane, and it's like late January. I remember going through the jetway and wearing sandals, being like feeling the cold just like bite my feet. And I was like, "Whoo!"
And did y'all come straight to Minnesota?
Right to Minnesota.
What made your family pick Minnesota?
Well, my mom and dad were both from here.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, they're both they met at Concordia University.
Okay.
Got married, and then different jobs, whatever. Then they live in Long Prairie, Minnesota, which is a tiny little town. That's where I was born, Long Prairie, a little tiny small town.
Yeah.
And so then we have a lot of aunts and uncles in the Twin Cities area.
Got it. Okay.
And then there's these missionary apartments in St. Paul, kind of nearby Snelling, kind of just not too far from the state fair grounds. So when we come back every 3 years, we come back for a home leave.
Okay.
And then there's churches that supported us, and we go around to the supporting churches and give a update. What's going on in Madagascar? Here's pictures, and here's this, here's that, and we get, so that was like what we knew of America was every 3 years we'd come back for a summer, and then fly back out for 3 years.
Yeah.
And so this time we moved back, and we're living in the mission apartments, and it was cold, and it was snowy, and it was like, whoa. It was tough. It was tough. And so then, let's see. So we lived there I'll be in 5th grade, right? So technically, I should have been in 6th grade, but in coming back, they're like giving me like placement testing, and they're like, Zach's 5th grade isn't up to going into 6th grade.
Got it.
So I got placed back in 5th grade. Back in 5th grade. So I was old enough to be a 6th grader. Thinking it was gonna be okay just to hang out with 6th graders at elementary school, but they're like, we're the kings of the school. We're the big cheese, And I'm just a 5th grader, and so it was real hard. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
It was a rough welcome back. It was a rough welcome to the winter. Being a 6th grader age, fifth grader, trying to make friends. Where are you from? Madagascar. No, you're lying, and then they find out I'm not, and then I don't know what's cool or not cool, and so I just an easy target for peer to peer bullying kind of stuff, make fun of, and it was just hard. It was just hard,
Was there any conversation with your parents at any point of like we're gonna move back, or was it just once you got here?
We thought so.
Okay.
We really did. Like I'm talking about my brother and I. We thought so, but so after being in St. Paul for the rest of that school year. Then my mom and dad found out about a place in Fresno, California called Link Care. And this place was a place that had counseling services, but it was a 1 year max stay for families that are coming from third world cultures to get support transitioning into American culture.
Back to the States,
And so we moved there for a year, and my parents, they had a family meeting that says, what do you think about moving to California? So all we knew about California was like Hollywood and like, that sounds really cool. Let's go meet some celebrities, And so we moved to Fresno and we're like, where's the celebrities? This place is it's really hot, kind of dirty, kind of crazy. And so when we moved over there, I remember like the hazing I got from being from Madagascar, so I moved to California. It's like, it's much safer to stay from Minnesota, which is equally uncool with the kids in California. I was like, oh man, and it was again a hard transition, for me and my brothers and stuff,
And do you still at this point? Do you still only have one brother? I
got an older brother, a younger brother, and a younger sister. My younger brother and sister, they were born in Madagascar.
Okay, got it.
My dad actually delivered my younger brother.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. Because they went to the hospital and it's not the greatest out there, and like nobody was coming in. My was like, baby. My dad's like,
Now, are they adopted as well, or were
they're
one of them anyway?
My older brother adopted. My younger brother and sister, biological.
Biological. Okay.
Yep.
So after that year was up in Fresno, did y'all stay in California? Or did you come back?
So we're like, we don't want to move again. So we acclimated to California.
Got it.
It wasn't snowy. We liked that. We started to make some, local connections with friends and stuff. So we decided to move out of Link Care and stay in California. So my mom and dad, they bought a house, and then like, we struggled in California. Some of the connections that we made out there in school for me and my brothers we found a good church that was great, but my brothers and I had started to find alternative peer groups, gangs and whatnot. And so my older brother, he started from breakdancing to like he's in a breakdancing crew, and then I got into gangs, and then me and my younger brother, we just had a hard time fitting in school, and started becoming labeled as trouble kids, troublemaker kids. And so we naturally kind of gravitated, and the younger brothers of the older gangster kids, big brothers doing that, so we're going to do that too, you know. And that we just got to be where California was. And so after, going into 7th grade, it was a hard year. I got expelled from school, like maybe 4 weeks in. I got in a fight. Then I got in a fight, and then there's some kids that were trying to jump me after school, and I was tired of running home because they jumped me a couple times. It was like, this time I'm not going down without a fight. Yeah. Brought a knife to school, and I was like, they think they're gonna get me today. I'm gonna get them today. And I told this one kid, says, hey, just low key, here's what's going on. Raymond and those guys, I'm gonna get them first. You know. And he was scared for me, and so he actually told the principal, and then I got pulled out of class, and they said, hey, Zach, what's going on? And they have a 0 tolerance for weapons at school out there, so I was instantly expelled.
That's a good friend.
But, yeah.
It's a good friend.
Little CJ. I think it's CJ Lopez.
Yeah, shout out to CJ.
Good, yeah, dude.
Good kid.
So, anyways, got expelled. I was in homeschool. I was like, I understand this. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so my mom, like, she knew what was going on with that, so she set me up with some people from church, as kind of like they'd come by my house and I'd go visit them, so I wasn't home all day, and set it up pretty good. So one of the guys, his name was Jim Wright, and he was a private investigator. He drove a Corvette. I thought he was pretty cool. He'd come pick me up in his Corvette, and we'd drive over to his place where he was like a probably 50s kind of bachelor kind of dude, and he had this like giant wine cellar that was nice and cool. If I was in California, if you found a cold place, you're like, this is great. We sit there, and he was my history teacher for homeschool, and so we find my work, grade my work, and as soon as my work was done, he'd teach me how to play chess.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And we played 3 games. 2 games, he would ask me if that's a good move and explain the alternatives. And then he'd walk me into checkmating him and winning. Oh, dope. Okay. And so he was like 2 times like that. And then the last game was live. Yeah, you just go after him. We're like, I go after him, and he'd like crush me. I was like, oh, we should have saw it coming. I was like, fine, cool. So it got to be this thing where like I couldn't wait to play chess with him. So I really got into history. So I get it's like the less problems I got done wrong, I had to recorrect. The more time we'd have to play chess. Definitely. So I started acing up on my history, and play chess. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. So anyways, my mom was trying to get me into another school. She got me placed in another spot. So homeschool was done after like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months of homeschool, you know. And then she got me into a district across town, a uniform school, yada yada. So I got in over there, and trying to jump in halfway through a school year is, again, not the easiest, but made a couple friends there. And then that was when I started to get involved myself in gangs, because there's 2 guys that backed me up in a situation. So when I got there, I was always asking my older brother. He seemed to like not have problems, and a big part of my older brother's formula was like, when you show up, you gotta make a statement. Let them know that you can't be messed with. So I get there, and there's this kid in my PE class that was just in my ear, and I was like, this kid is just not no. If I let him get away with it, then everybody's gonna get away with it. Is the way I was thinking. So it was like my older brother's words echoing in my head. I gotta make an example. So anyway, he had a locker right next to mine, and he was saying some real hurtful stuff, And he opened his locker door and started digging in his locker, and he's like, yeah, you ain't gonna do this and that. I just slapped his door a little bit too hard, and it chopped him right in the side of the head. And he's like, "What?" And then we started scrapping right there. And I ended up beating him up pretty good. He's like, "Oh man, I'm gonna tell my cousin and he's gonna kill you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose, you know?" Because like I just had it with being bullied.
Yeah.
Because I've been bullied so bad coming up to this. Well, the next day, so one of the places I found, like one of the places I hung out at noon was out in a soccer field. I played soccer a lot in Madagascar. So that was one of the places I went. And so out there in the soccer field, there's this group of Asian kids that I was hanging out with. And I got to be pretty good friends with them. Like they kind of had this like fresh off the boat feeling that I had.
Yeah.
You know, just a lot of, they reminded me a lot of the Madagascar kids. Anyways, across the field comes these high schooler kids with their gangster bandanas hanging out, and so these kids were all in their own little gangs, right? And they're like, "What?" They flipped out their stuff too. They thought that these guys were coming after them.
Yep.
Why are they here? And then coming across the field was the kid I beat up in Fayed class, and he goes and meets up with them, and he's like looking across the field. He points over at me. And so my friends that was playing soccer with me, they go, what do they want? I was like, "Oh yeah, you know, I beat him up and he said his cousin's gonna come kill me." I don't know. I guess today's my day.
Yeah,
you know, it was like I was scared to death, but I was like, this is just what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, they walked over there and the dude had like a little deuce sitting right like that. I was like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, and so they come up and I had support of these kids.
Yeah.
And they stood up for me. No one ever stood up for me ever before. And they negotiated, like I apologized and you know, and promised good faith and all that kind of stuff. No problems anymore. Shook on it and there was no bloodshed. No bloodshed. I was like, and so this is the first people that ever stood up for me, and that was so. I was like, if these guys got my back, I'm down with them. And so I told them that, hey, I owe you guys life, you know, and yeah, and soon thereafter I got jumped in.
Jumped in the Asian gang. Only white boy.
It's crazy. They call me little ghost.
Little ghost.
Little ghost.
Hilarious.
Anyways, man.
That is wild.
Yeah, anyways, you know, so they had like, so nearby they have these, they call them Asian projects. It was like maybe 9 buildings. On this side, then like a middle bay with like building, and then buildings like this, you know. So the 2 cul-de-sacs with roads going side to side, and then on this end was like a park, like a soccer, like a field, and then like a little like a rec center building type thing, you know. And so after school we go over there and hang out, and I was learning the ways of the gang culture and their culture and stuff like that. But we play soccer over there and stuff, and, but it was a shady neighborhood. Yeah. There was one time we're playing soccer out there, and they have different gangs, and there's drive-bys were a big thing back then, and we heard this car screech around the corner, and they yelled out 209, which is one of the gangs over there. 209, pop, 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 boom, 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 and we're like, and it went right across the field. Everybody on the field, boom, hit the ground, and I remember thinking like, those were shots.
You went in there.
It wasn't aiming at us, but it was aiming at the people that was sitting out in front, because they always have the little situations out in front of their places, you know. And I just remember being like, we just seriously got not shot at, but bullets coming at us. You know, and we're looking around the field like, who's all getting up? Who's all getting up? It was crazy. Yeah. Crazy day. It is. Crazy day. Crazy day.
Life. I grew up in a lot of gangs and stuff, me and my brother. And, you know, been around, drive-bys happening, been part of them, stuff like that. And it's like, when bullets really start flying, you ask yourself, like, yo, all right, are we for real now? Like, we in this? Like, that's shit. You make that decision in that moment. And if you win it, you win it. If you out, you better get the hell out, but you got to move too at that point, you know. So it's a whole nother thing. So how did you go through high school out in California as well? Okay.
So that was so I got expelled, went to that school for a while. Ended up getting expelled from that school because I was on a short leash there. Got in the thing in gym class. And, I ended up getting expelled from there for another situation.
Mm-hmm.
I got some guy tried to jump me after school,
Mm-hmm.
and this guy, he ended up just doing pretty good. He got me in a headlock, and he was like choking the life out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a pen in my pocket, and I stabbed him in the leg,
Mm-hmm.
and then beat him up pretty good. And
Yeah.
that got me.
It's time to go.
Yeah, but like if I hadn't have stabbed him in the leg, he wouldn't have broke his like it was pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the boot, and I was like, so I got expelled. My mom and dad, my older brother been to juvie. I'd been to juvie. My younger brother was on the same path. My sister was still young enough to have her innocence. And they're like, this California life ain't working for us.
Yep.
And so they made like an emergency extraction from California over to Minnesota.
Okay.
And so school got done, house got packed up, they counted out their money. All right, we're gonna pack up the van, pack up the truck. We found a place to live in Earhart, Minnesota. Tiny little place in Minnesota called Earhart. And I moved there. And it was a farmhouse on 30 acres of forest. Mom and dad were like, Madagascar worked for us. Big city did not work for us. Let's try
Back to the States.
Let's try a small town. Now, for me and my brother, we figured like in California, we now figured out America. We're like, this is the way. We're gonna show up, get respect, make a statement. And so we show up at school when that year started with our California values, and it did not fly in small town Minnesota at all. Right in small town Minnesota, you've got like generational like families that have known each other and grown up together, and it's like a pretty tight knit community. And here we have my brothers and I moving in there, and we're instantly different, dressed different. We had baggy Jankos. Everybody else is like, what's he wearing those clown pants for? So what am I wearing? Bop, and it was just right away, dude. We showed up to represent, and so like,
my name Little Ghost.
dude, it literally we're tagging up lockers, and like, who else is doing that stuff? Like, we're thinking like, no one's gonna know it's us. They know it's us because no one else is doing it. No one else is doing it. We're like, oh no, dude. You don't have in a big city, you can mess around and be anonymous. In a small town, they know it's you.
Yeah, you don't blend them. Yeah.
And so that was another tough adjustment, and yeah. So
did you go all the way through high school down and
lived in Earhart for a year. Then moved into Pelican Rapids, a bigger small town.
Yeah.
Lived there for a year. We kind of ruined, my brothers and I really ruined our welcome there. We were never really welcome. Mom and dad, I had found boxing at this time in Fergus Falls, which is even a bigger small town. Another step up, about a half an hour away. And so we moved to Fergus Falls and started life there. And then shortly after we moved there, the history of problems and stuff caught up to me. And my probation officer came to school to arrest me. And instead of walking into the office and just letting him cuff me, I bolted out the side door and ran away. And so I was 16 going on 17. And I says, boy, if I can make it a year and a half, when I turn 18, these juvenile charges won't stick with me. Don't know if that's even true. Don't even think it's true.
Yep.
But in my mind, it's like,
it made sense.
It made sense. I'm out.
Yep.
And so ran away and lived. It was a tough. I mean, 4 months. It was a while, but like, sleeping in, cars. Having friends who they'd sneak me in, so I could crash on the floor in their room, and they'd sneak me out before everybody woke up. And then eventually I found my way to a place we used to have parties. It was this abandoned trailer house on some land way out in the country, and I stayed there for the last, thinking like this is gonna be life now. Like here I am surviving just like I was planning to do when I was a kid. and there was a farmhouse nearby where a friend of mine, her mom knew about my situation, but kind of kept it on hush, and she'd bring a loaf of bread, a thing of eggs, and a block of cheese, and I had egg grilled cheese sandwiches, one each meal, and then there's this dog from another different farm, this big white German Shepherd, and so whenever we had like parties there, the dog, there's like a bowl of water underneath the keg, and they'd pour off, and the dog would drink it, and a party dog, So anyways, like this dog would hang out there every day with me, So I'd wake up like nothing to do, so I just like we'd walk through the land, and it was the fall coming closer to winter, it's getting colder. So the trailer had no heat source or nothing like that, But it was really interesting that dog, I had like full on conversations with this dog. It's amazing how close you can get with an animal,
Yep.
And I'd tell her all kinds of stuff. I'd ask questions, like should I turn myself in? Am I gonna make it? This is great, man. Like, and so there's that, and then there's the CD player. They had like the 3-disc changer, but it was messed up because the place was like pretty much trashed. But there was the Cranberries CD, and it was like stuck in the Cranberries CD. So like whenever I hear any of those Cranberries songs, it always brings me back to that moment, and. It was pretty hard, because there's one time like I was thinking like I hadn't talked to my parents for like quite a few months, and I just wanted to let them know I was okay. And so I was like, I'm gonna call mom, dad, tell them I'm okay, and I'm gonna hang up, And I talked to my mom and dad, who were just like the awesomest parents. And my mom was just, oh, what's that? And she just burst into tears, like, you're okay. And my dad's like, emotional, and they want me to come back, and just whatever it is, it's okay. Just want you back, want you to be safe, and it was super duper hard. It was so hard to hang up the phone, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna make it, hung up the phone, and it was hard. So from there, I hitchhiked back into town. I started getting pretty lonely out there. I hitchhiked my way back into Pelican Rapids because we were out of town from there. And I was in the park area where like we used to hang out and stuff. And I was hoping to find some friends there and like find my way up to Fargo, bigger city, more options, hide a little better, And so that day, I was trying to figure that stuff out, and they found out there's a party happening here or there. I was like, all right, that's come pick me up when nighttime comes, and I'll be hiding over here, So I caught a ride to this party, and the party got busted. I didn't actually drink that much, but because I hadn't been eating much at all, I got super wasted, and so the cops came, and I'm like trying to run, and it's just not working. My feet ain't keeping up with my
your thoughts.
Nope, crash my caught. So I got arrested, and the sheriff's was like, "Oh, Zach Walton, we've been looking for you," and they brought me down to the Fergus Falls juvie down there, and I remember that day just like, here it is, now face the music, what's gonna happen, and I was not too much shorter than I am now, but about 135 pounds, which, pretty slim dude. 135 pounds of me don't look good, and just I didn't realize how unhealthy I was until I had a chance to pause and see the number on the scale, like, whoa, and the guy thought I was making it, but here I was dying. So I went to juvie, and so at this point, my younger brother was in juvie in Battle Lake. My older brother was in juvie in Sauk Center, which is the main referral place from Fergus Falls, and I'm in Moorhead Detention. And we all had the same probation officer, and she's like, I'm not putting you with either one of your brothers because you're the Walters brothers. And so I got, she gave me these brochures of different places, and I saw one that was for Woodland Hills, you know, and it's talking about like positive pure culture, it's talking about summer trips, it's talking about, you know, restitution through community service through doing work projects. I'm like, this sounds like the ticket right here, you know. And so I asked my probation officer if we could check it out, and so they gave me a ride across the state, Moorhead, Duluth, opposite ends, you know. And I remember interviewing at Woodland Hills and being like, I really want to be here, you know. And they did this little interview thing, and there was a minute there that it seemed like I wasn't going to get in there because they looked at my file and I had a bunch of fighting and violent stuff on my record, and they started calling me a bully. I'd never been called a bully. I was like, I'm not a bully. I get bullied, and I'm this way because I was bullied. I'm not a bully. Well, it says here you're a bully. I was like, your record speaks for itself. I was like, that's not because of that, because those guys bullied me, and you threw full of excuses. And I said, I'm not making excuses. He's like, what about your parents? Do you realize this affects your parents? This only affects me. Oh, really? Really? You know, and they gave me a perspective of my parents, and it broke my heart to hear how this was negatively impacting my parents. And I never thought about it until that moment. Because in my own selfish youth, I was thinking about how this only impacted me and my life, and my life sucks, you know. I didn't think about them and their life sucking, but then I realized how poorly I was behaving and how ungrateful I was for my life, you know. And I said, hey guys, I just want a chance to make it right. And the staff, it was Mr. Faldesi, and Mr. Soring, to the old schoolers. You know, really hard on me. But then at the very end, they loosened up and said, yeah, you can be all right. You know, after they just broke me down. So I got into Woodland Hills, and right away started realizing that there's something to this place. And I was super encouraged by it, you know. And so at this point, my brothers and we had like a no contact. We couldn't write. Only way to get in touch with them was writing letters. And our probation officer was like, absolutely no letters being sent from each other. No contact between the brothers, because these brothers are trouble. Break up the unity. Well, my mom told me that my younger brother Jake got kicked out of his place for throwing a desk at a teacher, and you know, just like he had a little explosive anger thing. He's pretty stacked. Anyways, he got the boot, so he's back at Moorhead Detention. And so I'm like, Jacob needs Woodland Hills. So I told the staff, I said, hey, my younger brother, he just got kicked out of his placement. He needs to go somewhere else. Can he come here? And between the staff and the people, they figured it out, and they got him in there. So there was another set of brothers that were in there, but they were in two different groups. One was a Trailblazer, one was a Voyager. And I was like, if these brothers can do it, we can do it too. You know, so they brought Jacob in there, and they put us both in the Voyager group together. And it was great. It was good for both of us. You know, we both figured out a lot of good stuff. Had a lot of great takeaways from Woodland Hills, and then got out in time to do my. I was in there for like 11 and a half months or something. A lot. Seemed like forever. You know. But got out in time to start my junior year of high school. Got out of there, and
in Duluth.
And this is not Fergus Falls.
Oh, okay. You went back to Fergus Falls. Got it.
Back to Fergus Falls. Right?
Now, was your younger brother still at Woodland Hills at the time?
He was for a little while longer.
Got it. Yeah.
Because he came a little while after, and so he got out a little while after me.
Got it.
And so, anyways, junior year, straight A's. I lettered for grades. I was like number one in my class.
That's what's up.
Crazy. Like, I was like, all I'm doing is my homework. Like, as
just the regular stuff.
As assigned, you know. But like, I never got any credit for being a smart kid. And here I was just doing my work as assigned because I made up my mind to do that. You know, I was still on probation. I had a little job, and although I was doing really good in school, I remember still being like, you know, socially hard to fit in because when I was there for like 2 months in the beginning of the prior year, all of a sudden I disappeared people had like suspicions of where did Zach go?
Mm-hmm.
And who is Zach? And now he's back. Who is he now? You know? And so like I didn't want to hang out with the troublemaker friends. I was trying to make friends with the good kids.
Yeah.
But like being stuck between these two groups, like the good kids were like, "What do you do with Zach? Is he really good, or he's just like a sheep, a wolf in sheep clothing kind of thing, you know?" And they have old friends trying to pull me back that way. And it's like stuck in the middle, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was hard, you know. But when I got out of Woodland Hills, I was like, boxing, you know, family.
Yeah.
I want to use boxing as my motivation to stay sober and stay away from drugs, to be a good kid because of boxing. I'm going to dedicate myself to boxing and school and family, you know. And my junior year, I did those things and got back into boxing and did pretty well. And the school just rocked.
Yeah.
You know, I took all my hardest classes. So then my senior year, I had a few hard classes and then like a bunch of electives.
Yep.
So my senior year was like,
It's cake, yeah.
It's cake. I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
You know, nothing like a senior year of high school, you know.
Yeah.
So my older brother, he dropped out of school, and so my mom and dad were like, "You should go to college." Like, it makes mom and dad feel good. So I was like, "I'm gonna go to college, but I want to keep boxing." And so I was going between Woodland Hills or Duluth because of Woodland Hills, you know, because I got to know the community.
Yep.
I liked it. And then Seattle, Washington.
Oh damn! Yeah.
We had a good coach out there. And then in Duluth here, gotten to know Chuck Horton from being on the national tournament.
Yep.
Once you get to the top of your game, there's only so many people there.
Yeah.
And you get to kind of know who's who. You know, so when you qualify for nationals, you know, you're one of like, you know, 8 kids from Minnesota that's popping up out there, and you get to know the other coaches and the boxers. And he was a good coach. And I was like, if I want to continue boxing, I'd love to box with that dude. You know, I think he can make me better.
Yeah.
You know, so I checked it out up here, and saw tuition was way cheaper than going over there.
Yeah.
Lived is long enough away from Fergus Falls, where like, but I could still come back to visit my dad. So I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
So I went to Lake Superior College, started boxing, and yeah, that was my come to Duluth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at what did you study at Lake Superior College?
That was just like getting in there.
Get in there, okay.
Just get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to go to UMD.
Yeah.
But my scores weren't high enough to go there. But I found out that if I go to Lake Superior College and get A's, I can transfer over.
Exactly.
So I went there. I got A's and transferred over to UMD.
Yep.
So fall semester, Lake Superior College. Spring semester, UMD.
Yep. Now, did you get a 4-year from UMD?
Yeah, 4 years. It took me longer.
Yeah,
It took me longer, but I got a degree in psychology and criminology.
Cool. All right. And boxing all the way through.
Boxing all the way through.
Now, at what point? Well, I do want to ask this question before I get to this: is how did your younger brother end up faring out?
So my younger brother, he did finish high school.
Okay.
Barely. I remember when one day after school, we had this accountability thing from Woodland Hills, like peer to peer, you know. I remember driving by the corner and seeing him smoking cigarettes, and so then I was like, I'm gonna check his behavior at home. So I checked his behavior at home, and he got real mouthy. We got into a squabble about it, you know, pretty, you know, like, with the blows.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm trying to hold him accountable, and he's, you know, telling me I'm dumb, and that he's gonna be fine, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was hard, you know. He got into football, but then just kept on, like the pressures of drugs and alcohol really drew him in, you know. And so at those times, so let's see, after my junior year, I got done with probation, and my older brother got married, and he said, "Hey, I'm having a bachelor party, you know, you can just have one," kind of thing. And like that weekend became a hot mess, Soon thereafter, I had caught some criminal charges for fighting again, and got body consumption, trespass. It was just like the whole thing was like, should have never taken that first drink, you know. But then I was like, okay, if I'm gonna live in this life, I don't want to hurt anybody. You know? Because I remember how bad it felt to like recognize how I impacted mom and dad. So I was like, I'm gonna try and be in this world, but be a good guy. Which I found out later on is very hard.
It's hard.
Very hard. It's very hard to be a good guy in a bad situation. But yeah. So my younger brother, the drug life and things like that really took a hard root in him. And over the years, started using pretty hard, and started battling some mental illness from not sleeping enough, those kind of things. And started having some real delusional perceptions of the world, and ended up in state hospital for psychosis. You know, he had it was pretty crazy. He was there for 9 months. It was like 3 months here and then like 6 months there for like treatment stuff, you know. And when he got out of there, he lived with my uncle and started rehabbing some places and stuff with my uncle, and then got a job. Then with my uncle's situation, he was flipping houses, and then my uncle said, "I'm done doing this, and you're ready to move off on your own. So pick a place. You have a car. You've got some savings. You got this." So he moved to Duluth, and I gave him a phone book one day, and I let him use my cell phone. I said, "Here's the deal. Start from A and you go to Z." And he started calling all these tradesmen. You can do all these things really good. You can tell them you show up and work for a day for free. If they like you, he asked for an opportunity. You know. I said, "Someone will let you work. Someone's gonna let you work." So he's flipping through there. And by this time, I started boxing professionally. And he comes across Tigger's Drywall. And he's like, "Oh, Tigger, it's jungle." You know, he's always making these random associations, you know. And so he calls Tigger's Drywall, and they give him a shot. And so he called me. And so I come after school, and I check on him. And he's like, "Okay, so I'm going to start tomorrow." And so I was like, "All right, let's go up to Menards." He's like, "What do you need?" I said, "What do you need?" And he said, "A chalk line, a measuring tape, and a putty knife." You know, I was like, "Okay." I got him set up, and he started doing drywall with Tigger's Drywall, which was a great fit for him. And worked with them for quite a while. Became a really, really good drywaller. He eventually started his own business, and then that came to a crash. You know, marital problems along with drugs and stuff. The whole thing tanked down again. But there's a minute there where he was extremely successful, making really good money, and mom and dad were like, "Look at Jake! Who knew?" You know, and and then that whole thing came to a crashing halt where, in the end of his Minnesota stay, he was homeless, and it was winter, and it was the winter where like the Super Bowl was in the cities that winter.
Oh yeah. And
there was recently a girl that passed out on the porch of her house, and her fingers like frostbite, you know, whatever. And I'm like, so I talked to my mom and dad. I was like, "Hey, you know, we gotta get Jacob out of here." And we bought him a one-way ticket down to Arizona. Can't get frostbite in Arizona. And we had a friend that had a contracting business, and so it was nothing short of a miracle. We got him down there. He had an ID and a cell phone, and the last night he said, "I'm gonna go sit by my friends, go sit by a couple people." He got lost in the hillside. My dad was like, "Zach, you gotta help me find Jake." So we're like going around these sketchy places trying to find Jacob, until finally my dad found my brother, and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna go to the airport." We're like, "Yes, you know, God is good." And he's like, "One situation though, Jacob lost his ID. All he's got is his yellow papers." We're like, "Dude, it's a Super Bowl weekend. You're talking about the high security. There's no way." He's like, so my dad gets him there. He's like, "We're just gonna believe God's got a plan." He sent him in the line. I'm like, "Oh my God." My brother Jake at this time was really sketchy. He's like, he looks like a real tweaker, right? And he's a big guy. And so my dad's like, "He's in line. It's in God's hands now. I'm like, oh gosh, Dad, right? Don't leave yet. But anyways, Jacob got instructions that if and when he got through security check, to give me dad a call, to let him know it's good. He got through security somehow.
That's crazy. Yeah.
No real ID, just the yellow
Just
paper.
yellow paper. Yeah.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Next step is like, I was like, now he's gotta pray. He finds his gate. He finds his gate, goes to Arizona. He still lives in Arizona now.
Good.
So he's doing all right.
Yeah. All right. Shoot, man, I'm enjoying these stories. Honestly, it's super cool.
I don't
Now, fast forward. When and how was the legend of Jungle Boy a thing? When did the name even become a thing?
So, you know, I just realized we've been talking about a bunch of like bad stuff, right?
Mhm.
You know, and so when I moved to Duluth, you know, I wanted to pursue boxing,
Yep.
and so the first year I was here in competition, I won the Upper Midwest Golden Gloves, which was like a big thing. Like, that was my goal of goals, you know, being from Fergus Falls, and then winning the Golden Gloves was like the highest honor ever, you know, and so. The last person to win the Golden Gloves in Fergus Falls was in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And so Fergus Falls had a boxing program, but never a champion since the 80s. Anyways, training with Horton's gym, I jumped in the Golden Gloves tournament, won the tournament. I was like, whoa!
Yeah.
You know, Golden Glove champs that. Well, boom. Felt pretty cool about that.
What year was that?
2001.
Okay.
I was
That was the year I graduated.
Year 2000. I was the runner-up. And so I ended up rematching the guy that beat me the year before, who'd won it 5 or 6 consecutive times.
Okay.
This is the guy that, when I started boxing, I heard about this guy. And I was like, oh my God, this is the dude.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm old enough to fight the dude. And the dude beat me up last year. And now I got to fight him again. You know, so I trained my butt off, dude.
Well, and this is obviously before you came to town. Obviously, we all knew Chuck Horton, but Jungle Boy,
Yeah.
I mean, iconic. Everybody knew who you were
Oh,
in
man.
this city.
That's
Yeah.
It was wild, man. So like, so anyways, I win the Golden Gloves, right? And I finally, like, everything had been coming together as far as like boxing skills, my boxing ability. And I was like, finally, I'm like one of the guys that everybody. I show up at a tournament, everybody's like, Zach, you know. Well, along with this, I'd also started like making some not good decisions. Outside of that, trying to be the good guy in the bad world kind of thing. And it led me to getting my door kicked in and busted, and back looking at some felonies for selling, which is not great. You know, it was such an embarrassing moment for me, with my parents, in general, and it was life changing. It changed my life. You know. Anyways. I had just turned 21. At this time, this is my second year. I wanted to win the Golden Gloves for a second time. And I was in a different tournament called the USA Boxing Tournament. And I just won the 4-state tournament the weekend before, and I was destined to go to nationals. And this time at national, I mean, I wiped through this tournament just beating everybody so one-sidedly. It was just like, I just figured out how people try to beat me up and how to take advantage of their ambitions to beat me up. I was like, blah, 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 just wiping people out. I was like, I can't wait to go to nationals this year. I'm going to go real far. I'm going to get one place. I'm going to get ranked, you know, and sky's the limit, you know. And shortly after that tournament, I came back home, and my other stuff got my doors kicked in. And it was just like, I went from this super high moment to this incredibly low moment. Like, I was just embarrassed for myself. My mom and dad told me, you know, from years prior, you know, instead of us hearing about bad stuff, we want to hear from you first, so we're not like shocked on the phone, like, oh, what did they do now, you know? So I remember the place getting just raided and trashed, and I'm busted as they get, you know. And I get on the phone and call my parents, and they're like, just super strong faith. And the guy's like, well, Zach, as you know, God can make good things come out of lousy situations. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm destined to be a missionary in prison or something. I don't know, because I still got that missionary mentality. And I was like, I don't know. I'm done. I'm done. You know, there's no getting out of this one. I'm toast. You know. And I tried to go back to boxing the next day. My coaches had found out about it. They they kicked me out of boxing. But here I'm like coming up whenever my arraignment hearing, I was just gonna plead. I was like guilty, bye. You know, I was like I don't even want to go through the problems. I was like I did it. I'm dumb. I'll earn it. I earned my time. I will do it. I'm done with this whole life. You know. So, anyways, I tried to get back into boxing. My coaches and stuff kicked me out. Chuck's like, nope, kid, we're done. You know, the other coach, Bill Plum, who was really influential on me, he has some choice words also, but boom, I got the boot. And I was like, oh, crap, you know. So I went and there's a fitness membership at the Y. So I took a Y membership, played some basketball, worked on some weights and stuff. One thing my older brother told me, he'd been in prison several times, was when you're going in, you got to put yourself through a boot camp, man, because you never know, man. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to be able to defend yourself, those kinds of things. So I'm like, all right, here we go. So I was working on my fighting moves, you know, and just trying to get as strong and healthy as possible. At the same time, I was thinking, okay, if at my hearing they're gonna change their mind, I'm gonna plead, but maybe they don't throw me away. Maybe not. So I decided to say, okay, my credibility with anybody is toast right now. I've been sneaking, lying. My words is nothing. So I need to find some credibility, right? So there was coming up on April Fool's Day. I decided that it was day before April Fool's Day, and I was like, I'm gonna get sober. I'm gonna dedicate this day. I'm gonna get sober, and told all my friends. I said, hey, you know, I'm done drinking. I'll be DD tonight. Let's go. I'm good. And like, do you want to smoke? I'm like, nope. I'm sober. No more anything. I'm done. They're like, come on, it's April Fool's Day. I was like, I know, man. Joke's on you. You think I'm playing? And so April Fool's Day, I decided to say this is my sober day. So every April Fool's Day, I'm always like, another year. And here it is, going on 23 years.
Yeah, that's dope.
You know, I'm a 21-year-old saying no to drinking after drinking since I was like 14. You know, and here I can finally do it.
Yeah.
I as a juvenile, I had, I think it's 14 minor consumptions that were always like connected to other charges because we were just wild.
Yeah.
You know, always some drugs and alcohol, and then you get in trouble. You know, and there was a minor consumption tagged down almost every interaction. You know, it's terrible. Anyways, so 21 got sober. You know, so at 21 started drinking, 21 got sober. Ever since. Anyways, as my Y membership ended, and I was like, I'm gonna go try and get back into boxing. Right? So I go back and I talk to the gym. I walk in and talk to Chuck, and Chuck's like, "Kid, told you we're done." I was like, man, you know, I couldn't be okay with that. So the next day I come back, and he's like, "Kid, I told you we're done." And then Bill Plum came over, and he's like, "All right, why are you here?" You know, and he was like, he had a spooky way about him. I was like, okay, you know, and Chuck's like, you know, and then I was like, I'm gonna try again. So the next day I go back and I'm like, Chuck, please, dude, I just want to train here. I got my court date coming up end of June. I'm gonna get sent away. I just want to hit the bag, work on some power shots, work on a couple things, so when I go to prison, I'm gonna be all right. He's like, come back tomorrow, we'll talk more about it. I was like, it wasn't enough. So the next day, I wrapped my hands, got ready, just dressed and ready to train. And I showed up a little earlier than expected, and just like weaseled into the gym, dropped down, took a little corner of the gym, not affecting anybody, just shadow boxing, you know, hitting the bag, did my own thing. Chuck saw me outside talking. That was it. We had no words. And so after being there for a few days or weeks or whatever, Chuck comes over and says, "What's going on with those charges?" I was like, "I'm just gonna plead." He's like, "Oh, kid, you know, I had a dream last night. We can't let you go. You know, I think there's something. I just can't let you go. I think we're gonna try and get you. Do you have a lawyer or anything?" I was like, "I can't afford a lawyer, and I'm busted. I got busted. I'm done. You know, they found me. I'm busted. We're all I'm busted. They found the stuff. They found the money. They got all the stuff." And there's no way out of this. He's like, there's always something a lawyer can do. I'm like, and he's like, come with me. So here I am. I'm in my gym, my boxing wraps, and he walks me through the skywalk. You know where the Harbor City School is now?
Yeah, yep.
On the second floor there, that was all Horton's gym.
Okay.
So we walked through the skywalk over to Rick Holmstrom's office. He was a defense attorney.
Okay.
And Chuck had worked it out where he was going to be my guy. Took care of expenses, everything. I was like, again, no one's ever stood up for me like this. You know, like, there's the guys in California, and here's Chuck standing up for me. Like, this is pretty cool. Sits me down there with the lawyer and says, Rick, Zach, I'm going to go back and do practice. You go, Zach, tell him stuff. So I talked to Rick, and Rick's like, yeah, he's got these like these guidelines for sentencing guidelines. He's like, and there's like over here is like the side that's kind of lighter colored, and over here is like the darker colored side. Like, and he goes, over here you're gonna be okay. Over here is guaranteed sentencing, and I'm like 2 squares into the guaranteed stuff. I'm like, oh man. He's like, but that said, there's an option we're trying to do. There's a year stayed, or you do a year, and then you plead guilty, do a year, and then you serve the rest out on probation, but the police have to sign off on it. So we're going to write them a letter. Okay, cool. I'm feeling, God help me, you know. And he sent his letter in, and the police say, no way. They're like, nope, you know, oh, God, you know. And so I'm like, what's next? Like, well, there's a program that's starting up. You don't really qualify, but it's called drug court. And it started in February. I got busted in February. Crazy stuff. And now we're in June.
Yeah.
Drug court started the year I got, or the month I got busted. I didn't even know this program existed. And he's like, here's the deal: you go in, you plea, and if they accept you, they hold the charges over your head. And after successful completion, the charges go
Drop,
away.
yeah, it's like diversion, youth diversion.
Yeah, it's like EJJ. I was like, I understand this and I like this. He's like, but here's the problem: it's for non-violent drug offenders. I've got a gross misdemeanor for assault stuff. I got several disorderly conducts for fighting and a couple assaults. And it's like, you're not a non-violent drug offender. You're a violent drug offender. I'm like, but we're going to give it a shot. So we go into drug court, and we sit in the back waiting to get seen, and the drug court people are going up getting seen. And there's this lady, I don't know her name, but she was pissed. She's like, how dare you guys come into my place and invade my privacy? And she was so mad. And she's like yelling, I want out of this program, and I'd rather just do my time. And she like checked herself out of the program that day. She's like, take me to jail because I hate this, you know? And then I come up and I'm like, I want to be in this program. And the judge is like, go talk to the probation officer and make a recommendation. So I went and talked with a probation officer for drug court named Cheryl Harder. And I was like, Cheryl, here's the deal. I really need this. I'm already sober. I've gone through treatment. I've raised my grades. I went to all my professors, raised my grades. I've been going to church. I even got a certificate of membership because like, can I get a certificate of membership at church? I got a certificate of membership just like in the church. I'm a member. So I got good grades, documented proof. I got membership in the church, documented proof. I got, and then I put myself in treatment too. I already gone through treatment, and plus I was sober before I went to treatment. Anyways, so I had all this good stuff going for me, and I was like, I just don't want to get thrown away. And Cheryl's like, I think I want to make a recommendation that we accept him. So we go back to court, and Judge Person says, Zach, we're going to tentatively accept you this program. Do you know what that means? And I was like, I'm in. And she says, well, yeah, but if tentative means I'm hesitant about being okay with this. And if for some reason we don't think it's working out, we're just going to let you go. And you can go serve your time out. And I was like, the chance is good enough, And so I went in there and I did my admission of guilt and those kinds of things, and I got into drug court, So I'm like, whoa, I'm not going to prison. This is fantastic. So I went back to boxing. I'm just gonna box, Well, then I had this burden on my mind of how to repay Chuck for the $7,000 retainer from my lawyer. And somehow that was made okay. Did he pay it? Did he not pay it? Was it? But I knew that $7,000 was on the line for the retainer, and I was like, I want to repay that. But I was washing dishes at a local restaurant, and I'm like, this dishwasher money is not going to pay that off anytime soon, you know. So anyways, I was like, hey Chuck, like, how about I turn pro? And I boxed my whole career amateur boxing and never got paid a dime for fighting. I love fighting. But how about I just take the money I earned from fighting and just use to pay you back? I can pay you back much faster fighting than I can washing dishes, And he's like, well, sure, I was like, yeah, I think, I don't know how far I'm going to go, but I can pay you back.
Yeah.
So all I wanted to do was pay him back. That was it. I turned professional. I was living with some friends, had my pro debut at the Wade Stadium, and here we go. Made a pro debut, and so Chuck was like, Zach, we have some posters coming out. You got to think of a ring name. And I was like, my line of like De La Hoya, Roy Jones. These guys had no ring name. Like these guys are pretty dang good. And I wanted to be like them. Like Muhammad Ali. Like he didn't have a ring name. He was Muhammad Ali. And I was like, I want to be great. My full name is Zachary. I'm just gonna go by Zach. And Chuck's like, that's not gonna work. If you don't think of a name, I'm gonna give you one. And I thought he was just playing because he pulled pranks like that. And so I'm thinking he's just been found with Zach Walters. My amateur accomplishments to speak for me.
Yep.
Zach Jungle Boy Walters. I was like, that sounds ridiculous. I don't like that at all. It makes me sound like a clown. Jungle Boy. Are you kidding me? Like, I hated it. I was like, I don't like this name. And he's like, well, you can change it next fight. I was like, you bet I am. So I was playing some basketball with my friends, and we're listening to KQ radio, and the song "Welcome to the Jungle" came on. I was like, damn it, welcome to the jungle. I was like, I'm gonna use that song for my pro debut, and I was like, this is gonna work. This is gonna work, and so then I was like, okay, I gotta think of a signature. I just got into it, shot some pro debut photos with my mom and dad through Photoshop. Yep. And I got 500 black and white photos, big old stack of them. Yep. And for my pro debut, and then I sat there with a notebook, figuring out how do I write Zach Jungle Walters, and I came up with the signature. I was like, that one's the one right there. I can do it fast, I can do it nice, it looks good. That's the one. I remember sitting there going through pages trying to figure out how to write my name. I was like, that looks pretty cool. All right, cool. So now for my pro debut, I'm set up with good music. I got this, and anyways, my pro debut was nuts. Like, there was so many people that showed up. It was crazy.
That's cool.
And like, I wasn't even the main event. The main event was like other people. Yeah. I'm just the dude on the card. And here the crowd is like, Jungle Boy, Jungle Boy, Jungle Boy, and the way it was nuts. And the music came on, it just worked, And so after that day, I was like, all right, let's go for it. Yeah. So
did you win your pro debut?
I sure did. I whacked that dude out. It was like, I was gonna beat him anyways. Didn't know how I was gonna beat him. Yeah. But I ended up threw a left hook at him, and it whacked him right here, and it actually dislocated his shoulder. God damn! I was like, whack, and then his shoulder went boom, and his coach was like, come here, and he's like yanking on his arm, trying to make him get better, and the ref was like,
yeah, get him out of
done. Here. I'm like, well, there you go. Yeah. This guy was just a guy to fight for my pro debut. Nobody special. And I went and beat him. And so, anyways, I entered the pros. Entered show business, and it was fantastic. So then I go up into the crowd, and the other fights are happening, and I sat there, and it's like the whole crowd just descended around me, and I sat there for hours, signing off pictures. Thanks for coming to my pro debut. Thanks for and I sat there, all my pictures, black and white. Every now and then, someone on Facebook will say, "Hey, look what I found." She was black and white, me going like,
Yeah.
You know, trying to be cool. It's pretty cool. So that's how I started into the pros right there. It's just like, want to pay my coach back. So now I'm in drug court. I'm not locked away. But one of the things at drug court is random house searches, right? And so one day I'm sitting there and blah blah blah, and it was paralyzing because I got my house messed up before, but this time I got nothing to hide because I'm being a good dude. I'm already committed to this life. Well, they come in. They got a dog that smells everything and barks and everything, and my roommates were doing but I was doing my thing. It didn't matter what they were doing. But they opened the fridge. There's like a bunch of random, beers in there, from leftovers, and then smelled the coffee table. It smelled like weed, and they're like, they went back to the judge, and the report was that I'm living in an unhealthy recovery environment, and I'm remembering my tentative acceptance, and judge is like, you've got 2 weeks to find somewhere else to live. I'm like. All right, so I tell Chuck about this, and Chuck's like, well, live in the gym. I'm like, where? He's like, you can convert my office, I barely use it anyways. And so I was like, all right, I'll live in the gym. Okay, so it's like, I clean, I'd run the morning class, I'd clean the place, so I was a janitor / morning class guy. But I got to live in the gym. I got like this closet install thing with like a kind of a pillar of kind of cubbies, two poles, and then I got a shower curtain to pull across it. And so in the back of his office, I had the curtain, and behind there was my closet situation. So at night, I'd drop my mattress down, and then during the day, I'd put it up and then pull the curtain across it. So behind the mattress was my clothes. And I lived in the gym. And it was this really cool, like Renaissance kind of feeling, like here I am, I want to know as a pro. I feel really cool. I'm like on this like reborn life kind of thing, and I'm like, just really feeling like God's got a plan for my life. So one thing I didn't tell you is that night I got busted, traumatic life. House is upside down. My dad says, God can use a lousy situation, make good out of a lousy situation, And he'd say that every time, and this is many times, my brothers and I would get in trouble. God can make good out of a lousy situation. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna mess some stuff. I found my Bible, and I cracked it open. I was like, this is a big book, but if God's gonna make good out of a lousy situation, I'm gonna figure out what God wants to do with me, And so I crack it open, just in the middle. I'm like, I don't know where to start. It's intimidating. It's a big fat book, But right there is in this book of Jeremiah. I didn't even know it was a book in the Bible, Jeremiah. But it's Jeremiah 29:11, and it said, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to give you hope in the future." I was like, on that night, I was like, if God said that, and my dad's saying God can make it all this stuff, I'm just going to believe that. And moving forward, it seemed like bumps in the road. I got kicked out of boxing. I got kicked out of my house. I'm getting kicked out of everything, man. Guess I'm going to prison. It's part of God's plan. Whatever. But then here come finding out drug court. Now my charges are going to be, if I successfully finish it, my charges are going away. And then I turned professional just to pay my coach back. But people love me. I'm like, this is crazy. This is my life now.
This is a 360.
I was like, holy smokes, So then when I was in drug court, there was a courtroom reporter that wanted to do a special on the drug court program. And this guy, the judge says, okay, next week there's going to be a reporter here, and don't worry, he's just going to sit there, and he's going to ask you guys a couple questions, but he's just doing a report on us, and so no invasion of privacy. It's just him. Everybody was like, oh, we don't want that guy here. You can tell him to piss off, whatever. And I was like, okay, well, so I go to drug court. He's sitting back there, and on the way out, he's like, can I talk to you? I'm like, sure. And he's like, I'm doing a special on this, and I'm just looking for someone to follow the program. And I was like, sure. He's like, now you realize that I'm following you through the program to your successful or unsuccessful completion.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do this, I'm going to tell the story. I'm like, cool. I'm going to finish this thing. This is going to be great. Let's go. So I met with him the next day or the next week or whatever. We sat down and I told him the story. And it became this huge story. He ended up getting awards for it. I'm talking like front page of the paper. And then in the middle, it was like 2 whole pages with pictures. Yeah. You know? And it was all about the story I just told you about. Coming to America. So it's insane. I'll show it to you sometime.
Yeah, okay.
It's nuts. It's nuts. And that was like this major awareness of like who Zach is. I'm just coming clean. Hey guys, I'm Zach. I've got some dirt in the closet, but here's what I'm doing now. Watch me, you know. And so I continued fighting, and the crowds just kept growing, and people started telling me, Zach, you know, are you gonna stay here and go pro? I was like, yeah, I love my town. I love this place. Plus, I couldn't leave because of that probation.
Yeah, I'm locked in. Y'all don't know it, but I can't go nowhere. So
anyways,
to lose.
Anyways, man. So then, I kept fighting and kept my following kept growing, and I started getting opportunities to speak to the recovery community because now I'm going on 2-3 years sober. Still on drug court. But I just feel so blessed that I've got this second wind of life, you know, and here I've got this boxing career that's giving me a platform to share the story, you know, and so every time I got asked to speak, you know, like I'm thinking, God blessed me with this life. I need to share as much as I can to do His work through this platform I've been given, you know. And so every time I was asked, I always said yes. I hate speaking. Yeah. I hate it. It makes me nervous. Can't get my tongue. You know, and yeah, you know, I just kept saying yes. And so like Team Challenge or like, you know, Woodland Hill, I still go speak to Woodland Hill all the time. I'd speak up there all the time, visit the groups, talk at the like graduation ceremonies. You know, I speak up there all the time. And my goal for them was to give them a picture of what life is like after Woodland Hills, because a lot of kids come in there, they talk about life before Woodland Hills, but then there's the big unknown of what's beyond. Exactly. You know, and that's why I say, here's my story. It's just my story, and it's just here's some of the struggles. You're gonna have your own struggles, but here's my struggles, and here's how I got through them. And maybe it's gonna help you, you know. And so many times these kids were like, "That's awesome," you know. So I did it every year, every year.
How long did you box pro for?
2021 to 2009, 8 years.
8 years, okay.
8 years.
What was your record?
So finished out 24-5 with 19 knockouts.
That's dope.
Yeah, and so in the beginning times, Minnesota didn't have a boxing commission. Okay. So for official fights to count on a record, like those fights I just told you about, there'd have to be an out-of-state commission to come in. So when I had my pro debut, I made my debut on an Iowa boxing license in Minnesota because Iowa came up. And then, but driving the commission up here, it's expense after expense. It's so expensive having these shows. Yeah. So when I was on the come up, Chuck was like, "This is a major expense. It's easy to lose money on a show." And so I had a bunch of fights that were just kind of in the gray. Yeah. That, you know, we're fighting, we're getting paid, but it ain't counting in the books. Yeah. Exactly. Because there's no commission and they're halfway sketchy. But we had fights, man. They're real fights. Real fights. So I got about 13 of those on the come up. That's not in my official pro record. Now, early on, then there's a thing called Box Rec. Okay. That started, and they start to chart your fights, you know, and write them down. And there was times my record would grow as those fights would be added on there by people that found out about them. Yep. And then it would shrink back down. And then it would grow and shrink back down. So on paper, I got to 5-0. In reality, I was more like, I don't know, 19 fights. Yeah. 18 fights, you know? Yeah. I was like 18-0.
That's crazy, yeah.
You know? Yep. But on paper, I was 5-0. And so we started fighting out of state in Tacoma, Washington, at Emma Queen Casino. And I went out there for this fight, and I fought. I was supposed to fight Louis St. Clair from Canada. I got out there. Louis St. Clair got stopped at the border because of whatever. He got stopped there. And so here I am, showed up to fight. And the promoter's like, we got a person to fight. We got to get him in there. He's paid the money to get me there. I'm fighting somebody.
Yeah.
So they call around to get Louis Lopez. So I'm at the time, I'm 3-0 on paper, right? But I'm pretty confident because I've been doing this for a minute. And I beat up a lot of people. I'm like, let's go, Louis. So I'm 3-0. He's 4-3. I'm like, he's a 3-time loser. I get in there. I see him at the weigh-ins, and he's like this kind of shorter, overweight Mexican dude. I'm like, I'm gonna waste you. Man, this guy was tough. First round, bam, 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 bam. I beat him so bad. But it was like, I was like, okay. Next round, I'll put it on your body next round. Boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. I beat him senseless. Like, he didn't touch me for nothing. But guess what? After the second round, thinking I was going to take him out, I was like, I'm going to start with the body, but finish to the head. Start with the body, finish to the head. I'm thinking, like, he's going to be done after this. Well, here's 2 rounds in, and I'm dead tired. After 6 minutes of fighting and just nonstop punching, I'm toast. I'm not fighting like I should for my weight class. I'm throwing, like, featherweight level, like, thinking I'm just going to dust him. But he's still there. So I'm like, okay. Third round, I'm gonna move, and I'm going to jab. And then fourth round, I'm going to put a finale on. In that third round, he knew I was tired. And he came out, boom, 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 boom. And I remember like hitting him with like a 1-2 and then getting kind of clipped on the escape. And I was over here and I saw nothing. Bam. I was like sitting there and I saw these red Adidas shoes walking away from me. I'm like, this is an odd perspective. I was like, and I instantly knew I got dropped. I was like, what? I got up and I'm on bad legs. I'm like, oh my God, 6'4" on bad legs. And it doesn't work, man. I'm like, wow. I'm thinking, please don't stop the fight, ref. I'm good. Louis comes out there to finish me off. I look at that fight. I'm like, why didn't this ref call the fight? 'Cause I look like garbage. Here I spent 2 rounds kicking ass. And my third round, I barely survived it. I get back to the corner and I'm like, oh, Chuck's like, grabbed the sponge and just gave me a spray of sponge in the face. And he's like, wake up, kid. Stop trying to knock this cement head out. You got to box him. I was like, I got to knock him out. The judge is going to take the fight because getting dropped, now all of a sudden he's got the judge's attention. Plus, I get docked a point. So now it's basically even. Even though I beat him up for 2 rounds, with this, it gives me. It's 2-2. It's 2-2, and I'm not looking good. I gotta knock him out. And Chuck's like, don't try to knock him out. I gotta knock him out. Chuck, he's like, whatever. He's like, whatever. Gets out of the ring. I'm like, go out there. I'm like, I'm going to war. I'm going to war. And it's like, bam, 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 boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. I'm not taking a step back. Louis not taking a step back. And so we're kind of on the inside, and I bump him, and I hit him with an uppercut, and he comes in again. I hit him with a hook. Boom, I hit him with an uppercut. I hit him with a hook, and I hit him, wham, one last shot, and just peels his mouth guard out of his mouth, and boom, like that, and he drops. It's like he's laying like that. I'm like
relieved,
and I'm like, I can feel like blood inside my throat from my face being beat up, and just like. And I'm like, I hope he doesn't make it.
That's a brutal story.
That's a brutal. Louis, just one tough dude. He's like grabbing the ropes, and he's like pulling himself back to life. But and by the time he gets out, the ref is like, it's done.
That's it.
And I'm like, thank goodness, good call, ref. And so I was like, yes, I got it. So Chuck is sitting there on the side, and he's like, he said, is this dome. Is this little dome, like a little Thunderdome type thing. And he's like, all I saw was the whole sky went white. And I saw you silhouetted as like heaven opened up. And he had this like, he wouldn't shut, it was like a spiritual awakening, right? So, and he's like, oh my God, we did it. Yeah. I was like, woo, And so Louis Lopez, great guy, love that guy. Rest in peace, Louis. He passed away a few years later. Not a great life. But he was one tough dude.
Yeah.
And so here I am, 4-0, and I go get my check from the promoter, go over to the cashier at the casino, cash my check, get my money, walk over to pay Chuck. Chuck's like, and I know the debt is still upside down. He's like, "We're good, kid." And I was like, "What do you mean we're good? I just this we're not good." You're like, "I'm having a time of my life, man." He's like, "Nope, everything else is off. You know, from now on, you keep what you earn." You know, and when I came back to Duluth, you know, we had like a little reception of you know, winning, you know, like a little winning party, you know, and went back out there again to fight a few more times, and I almost signed a contract to fight in Seattle, Tacoma. We had a contract, we were thinking about signing it, you know, negotiations went the other way, and I ended up staying here in Duluth, which was fantastic. That was a crazy fight. Me and Louie. So I ended up getting my eardrum busted. So when I got dropped, this overhand right, boom, busted my eardrum. And it was one of the reasons why I was so shaky getting out of there. Crazy fight. It's on YouTube. You can go watch it.
I'm gonna have to go check it out.
It's crazy.
And then I know through the years you so what year did you get on the board of Woodland Hills?
Years later. I think that must have been 2015 or 14.
Oh yeah, right before. So yeah, I came 2016. Yeah, I thought you might have been on there for a year before.
No. It must have been before that.
Yeah, it was before that. It's before 16. You were already on the.
Because that was already. Yeah. So when did you get here?
16.
Okay, I was way before that then.
Yeah.
Maybe 2010.
Oh wait. Okay.
Because I gotten done fighting. I should look up that date because 2015 that's not the case. 2015 was a different transition. I got out of promoting professional boxing and dedicated myself to my insurance career and decided to like tame my boxing involvement down to just being a coach. Yeah, you know.
Now you got a real cool and successful gym.
It's pretty cool.
I love it. I'm telling you, I'm about to become a member. I got to get this body right,
bro. Come hit some.
It's time.
It's so fun.
I just shed a couple of them, but we got some kids in there too, and they absolutely love it. So I appreciate what you do.
Go.
I got a couple more things before we close. You brought us a glove. If I can make it stand up. Then actually, this picture dope as hell.
Yeah.
What specific? I won't even show this yet. I'll hold this down until we know that. What specific was this a fight glove? Like
so it's a bag glove for the gym.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And so all gloves get worn out after a while. And you know, like in some places you see like shoes hanging from the wires. Yeah. You know, you got to retire a pair of shoes somehow. This is how you retire a glove. Yeah. And this glove is beat up, it's been through there. It's a bag glove. Almost every kid in the gym has worn this glove. Yeah. And even I've worn this glove a few times, training and stuff. And so it's busted up. It needs to get retired. And you know, I watched a few of the podcasts before coming out. You just get a flavor of what you're doing here. And I saw all this stuff. I was like, you know, I didn't happen to see any boxing gloves on the wall, man. I was like, hey, you know, so I figured I'd retire this glove over here. And then I had a picture.
This is tough. This is tough.
So this picture is a picture my dad got after Superior Showdown 1. It was a fight at the Westman Arena over there. And I fought this real tough dude named Ted Muller. And in this fight, I went out there and I got dropped twice in the first round. But every time I got up, I was okay. I was like, I can't believe I'm getting dropped, man, because I feel fine. But boom, down I go again. So anyways, down on the cards. Round 2, I kind of neutralized things, and then round 3, I'm like, I got to get back in the green for some wins here. And so I started really going after my opponent, and I caught him, boom, with a nice sidestep jab. So I said, boom, walking right into it. And I saw his knees buckle, and I'm like, I'm going to get you. Bam, 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 bam. I ended up finishing him off that round. Yeah. And so I got cut right here. I was bleeding. You can see the blood coming down. And I jumped on there, and I just jumped over. I said, thanks. Thanks, God. You know, because fighting is like a spiritual thing. Yeah. It really is, you know. And so for my mom and dad, my dad would always shoot pictures at my fights, and he'd shoot with a 35 millimeter, not knowing what he's going to get, you know. And they processed. So when I was up there, he was sitting down in the corner, and he just shot a couple pictures. And the lights from the fight coming down ended up being a really cool picture. So
That
they
is
hung
dope.
this up in their photo studio, and they put victory on it, and they put my Bible verse,
Yeah,
my
see, y'all
Jeremiah
seen that.
29:11
Yeah, that's dope.
on there. I had it on my boxing trunks too, because part of God's plan,
Yeah.
And they said this reminded them of the battle it took to get my life back together after a long history of making bad decisions, and how I fought my way into being, outside of boxing. I fought my way into getting my life back together, and so it's one of my mom's favorite pictures. So anyways, it was sitting in my office, not hung up because I moved my office from where it was to being back home, and I figured it could hang out in here somewhere.
Yeah, we're gonna find a good spot for it.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
so then retire the glove and give you this one.
Yeah, we appreciate it, dude. I enjoy having you on, and just hearing the stories was cool. Like I said, I've known you for a while, and I've known some of your story, but to hear just a lot of it, I think a lot of people are gonna really appreciate it once they get to see it.
Yeah, it's there's so many cool stories even within the boxing career of how it went from being like a nothing into something, and having to be a self advocate but then I have a hard time being I never want to be like a bragger. Someone say, "Oh, Zach is bragging" or something like that. So it was, is a blessing to have the papers tell my story and stuff. But then when it came to promoting my shows, if nobody shows up, there's no revenue to pay for the show. And so I used to get mitts full of flyers. I get a roll of tape and a little stapler, and I'd see like a tree, a staple. Boom. I walk all through Canal Park and I put windshields and all over the place. And there's one time I did that, and Chuck got the phone calls from it was from the Hawthorne Suites. You get your boxers down here and take these flyers off our windshields. And I was like, Chuck's like, "Are you doing that, Zach?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's me." He's like, "Go down and take them off." I was like, "Okay." I did.
Yeah.
I just left on it. But like I walk all around to UMD. We used to go out, go to the bars. I used to bring my friend Johnny and I would bring the ring girls with us. We'd kind of make an entrance. I'd buy them a drink at the bar, and then I'd go to the back and I'd weave my way through all up and down Tower Avenue, giving out flyers. Come check me out. Win or lose, you're gonna see a good fight. Win or lose, you're gonna see a good fight. And so that's something that I'm quite proud of. Is when someone came, is always a gamble whether I was gonna win or lose, but you about to get entertained.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then I ask everybody this question, and this will be my last question for you: is if you can go back and say something to your younger self, what would it be?
Which younger self?
Yeah.
True gig, and it wasn't.
Because when I look at my childhood, like there was the younger self in Madagascar.
Yeah.
And then there was the younger self in the U.S. And the younger self in the U.S. struggled a lot. The younger self in Madagascar was a free, adventurous kid. We'd get in some scraps out there, but it was always in good fun. Like we'd fight with the neighborhood kids, and it was always a handshake and a high five. And,
say the American one then.
The young Zach in Madagascar about to come to America. What do you say to yourself?
That one, that's a hard one, cause America was so different than what I had imagined, cause we'd come back a few times for home leaves, and it was like visiting some churches for the summer, and it was pretty chill, like family reunions and barbecues and getting invited over here and invited over there and being so welcomed and appreciated. And then when I moved here, it was public school, and it was like all kinds of like social stuff that was difficult, and I don't know if there was a way to really prepare myself for that, it's hard, and I think about that because now I've got kids of my own, and I think about what to pass on for know-how and how to get through school and stuff, and so I've got a couple of things I tell them, but having good values, staying away from drugs, you know, like I wish I would have never, you know, got into that stuff. You know, it's a real dark chapter. You know, a real dark chapter of my life. And even though there were some shiny moments here and there amongst that chapter, it was pretty dark. You know, and so like, you know, if I was to say anything to my younger self coming to the stage, is like, don't drink, don't smoke, stay away from drugs, because you know you got to have a clear head. Life is going to throw a lot of problems at people, but if you can keep a clear head going through stuff, you can make good come out of a bad situation. And that's one thing that I feel so fortunate about is I've been able to get my life to a place where now the former way I was living is so small in comparison to who I've become. It's like I can tell the stories and not feel too bad about it. Taking shots away from me, you know, because but like no drugs, no drinking, stay away from cigarettes, you know, find a good healthy activity, a reason to stay healthy. Sports, you know, sports activities, you know, if you have a good reason to stay healthy, it's a healthy reflection. You know, it's just hard. You know,
it is.
I'm blessed to found boxing, man. Cause my mom tried to put me in basketball. I didn't grow with basketball. It's terrible. But I like fighting, and out of sarcasm, I said, I'm gonna be a boxer. And I thought she was gonna say no to that because of all the fights I've been getting into. But she's like, okay, you better, you know. And so she'd take me to boxing. My mom and dad, they both take me to boxing. And once I started, I was like, I think I found my spot. And just stay with it. So now with the gym, you know, through boxing, I had some really good mentors, you know, Chuck and Bill and Jack O'Brien, and lots of good influences through boxing. And boxing has kind of paved the way for me to re-socialize myself back into society as a new me. So now I try to provide that same opportunity for kids through my boxing gym. You know, like, you know, we always, the price to train there, you got to keep the lights on, you know, having a spot downtown ain't free, you know, but like, I've been blessed to have a lot of people come through there. And every now and then someone needs a membership that they can't afford it and stuff, you know, so we got a couple sponsors here and there to help us, and it's working.
Like I said, dude, I appreciate what you do and just getting to know you and your story, and even like I said, some of the kids we work with that we, you know, have come down, and just seeing how their even behavior is switching. You know, just having another positive place to go to, and another person to lean on them and hold them accountable. It's a big deal. So
somebody to check in that cares, you know, like how's school, how you doing?
That's it.
You know, if I see if he come in with a smile, ask him what's going on. See he come in, you don't look right, what's going on? So we check in, good and bad, and always try to, you know, if there's something going on, check in with him about it, and give him at least an idea of a path forward.
Definitely.
You know.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Sure.
Yep, and thanks for being on. And like always, like and subscribe. And thanks for hanging out with us. So.
Sure.